evening, everybody. Welcome to the Small Talk Podcast, Season 2, Episode 7, with co hosts Marlene Sharp and Chris Pomay. I hope everyone's doing well on this Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. It's been hot, humid here in Southern Ontario, and of course, more rain. It seems like it rains here every day this summer, but I hope everyone's doing well, and I'm looking forward to our show tonight with Marlene and myself and our special guest as well. I want to do a shout out to one of the ladies at the bank that I deal with. Her name is Kanishka, and she's with TD Canada Trust. And I said I'd give her a shout out here tonight. She always provides great customer service at TD Canada Trust, Paisley Road here in Guelph. And I'm gonna bring on my co-host Marlene Sharp, and we have an exciting guest on tonight. Their first appearance on the Small Talk podcast as well. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live streamed on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter X, I still call it Twitter, and on Instagram. And this show will be available on all audio platforms and on WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports. I'm going to bring on my co-host, Marlene Sharp.
Hello.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm fine. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm a little bit exhausted. I've been staying up to 2, 3 in the morning working, and I'm not getting enough sleep. So I think tonight I have to go to bed at like 11 o'clock, which is 8 o'clock your time.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. Yes, please do that because we need our sleep.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
it's important to mental health and all kinds of other things.
And I just spent the weekend in Toronto, which is our version of New York, and just crazy. There's always something going on in Toronto, and I took a train down there the other night, and there was all these young people that were on the train, and they were packed in, and a lot of them had too much to drink, and it was just I just observed it, and it was an interesting ride home, but it was a fun time, and even when I'm not working, Marlene, I always take my microphone, my camera, and I still do interviews, and I got to interview one. I got to interview one fan that was a Paralympic athlete for Canada in the 1980s. So yeah, I always run into somebody that has an interesting story to share.
Yeah, that's like you hear of a flash mob. That's like a flash interview. So that I think that's a wonderful way to work because you never know who you're gonna meet. Actually, I have a related anecdote. I was on the train this weekend too, but being on the West Coast in Los Angeles, I took the train down to San Diego Comic-Con, and that was an adventure. And I saw a lot of folks on the train who I wanted to interview, including the voice of SpongeBob, Tom Kenny. And wow. He stopped right next to my seat and was talking to another gentleman. Excuse me. And the other gentleman told him, "Oh, I just loved what you said about autism." And of course, my ears perked up because, as you know, I do a lot of work with the autistic community. And I Googled, and Tom Kenny had a big news moment this past weekend because he inadvertently announced that SpongeBob is on the autism spectrum. And it wasn't an official announcement, but the news picked it up. And so that was going on, as well as San Diego Comic-Con, which is its own brand of insanity. So here's to trains and interviews and being prepared.
And I have a friend, his name's Patrick Pierce. He works and lives in San Diego. And I told him next year I'm going to fly out to San Diego, and I would like to attend a Comic-Con as media. So he told me to get the ball rolling on that too.
Oh, yeah. You got to sign up through the website and watch the announcements as to when press and professionals can register. It's all very organized because so many people want to go. And yeah, you need to reserve your hotel room way in advance and all that stuff.
So I should already start doing it for now.
Yes.
For next year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll have to email you or DM you more for information about that. But hey, since you brought on our guest for July, this is our second show of July, by the way. We did one July 1st, Canada Day, and now the end of July.
That's right.
So yes, this is our 7th episode. So I'm going to let you introduce our guest tonight, since you were kind enough to arrange for our guest to come on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. This guest is a woman of many talents and many accomplishments, and she's a beautiful person inside and out. Her name is Lynne Biss, and she is an accomplished podcaster. Her show is called FuneMinds, but she's also an author and a retired corporate CFO and a mother and a lot of other wonderful things. So please welcome Lynne Biss.
Hi, Lynn. How are you?
Hi, and thank you very much, Marlene and Chris, for having me on your show. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, the pleasure is ours.
How it's going, Lynn, and how's things going with your show? And you got an interesting story about being an accountant, and then you ended up in the aerospace industry, and then you decided to do a podcast and write your own book as well. So you got quite a story to share with us.
I have had quite a life. Let's put it that way. I've had a very interesting life, and there's been ups, there's been downs, and ins and outs, and whatever. But accounting. People always look at accountants like they're boring, and they have nothing to say, and their lives are very dull. Well, my life has never been that way, and I believe that it was my personality that went along with the accounting that brought me to the position and I just kept climbing up the ladder, and people just fell in love with me. Not that I'm like, this wonderful person, but I am. But anyhow, I say that I was a woman in a man's job in a man's world, and that's what I was. And I did a great job, and I was very intent in my position and my career. And I had a family to raise, and a lot of times I was doing it on my own. So I was very, very focused on what I had to do in my life. But when the time came that I was going to retire, which you can't retire. When you're a person like me, you just can't retire. So I said, there were two things I really wanted to do. And one was write a book, which I had in my mind for many years. And I knew the title, and I knew where I was going with it. And I added along, in my mind, I was adding things along the way. So I wanted to accomplish writing that book, which is the first thing I did. And I self-published. But then I jumped right into my podcasting, which was another thing that I thought I would love to do. And I do love doing it. And there was no one else that I could ask to be my co-host except my son, because the apple did not fall very far from the tree. So, like the two of us together can be crazy. We can be funny. We can be antagonistic. We can be, whatever. But we have a lot of fun. We've enjoyed, it's 2 years now. And
congratulations.
Thank you. We just
That's
did
huge.
Yes.
2 years. Yes.
We just did our 104th episode, and in 2 weeks we have another 4. Yes, congratulations to me. And I can't really say there was any person that we haven't interviewed that we just didn't fall in love with. My show is very eclectic. We have people from all walks of life. We really try to get into people's minds. We like to tease them. We like to joke with them. But then there's a serious side too, and it depends on the person and what they are and what they stand for and what they're trying to do, what their brand is. You have to mix and match what you're doing, and I think Eddie and I do it very well. And I don't know of anybody else that's a mother and son duo in the podcast industry. I really don't.
I don't think I know of any either. No.
And I kind of consider myself the OG of the podcast industry, and maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Maybe there's somebody that's older than me. Not that you're going to get my age out of me.
That's me. I'm the old guy here.
Oh, okay.
52 and counting.
Well, it was funny. I was with somebody yesterday at his doctor's, and I just happened to mention that I have to go for a bone density test, and this woman turned around and she's like, "You're too young to go for a bone density test." And I'm like, "No, I'm not." She's like, "You can't be over 60. I'm like, "Well, yeah, I am." She's like, "Oh my God," and she got all shocked. And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I am," But she's, "Well, you don't look that old." And I'm like, "No, well, I don't feel it either." And I think that has a lot to do with people, in life. I've always been a very positive, uplifting type of person. I always look on the positive side when I'm dealing with people and dealing with situations. And I'm not going to say that we all don't have our moments of being ruffled and, standing and thinking and analyzing and worrying about something, because it's human nature. I happen to take a different route when I'm dealing with things. And I really look around and over and under and above and whatever way I have to travel to get to the point that I need to get to. And I always try to do it in a very positive way and with a positive attitude. And I think that really helps a lot. And I think it helps people a lot to do things in a much better fashion. So, but that's just how I feel. A lot of people don't feel that way, and that's okay. And I think life is a comedy. You got to find the humor in it. You just have to laugh at yourself, and you have to laugh at the world, because if you don't, you're lost. You're really lost.
Age is just a number, and doing this career switch 4.5 years ago, I've worked with people much younger than me, people my age or older, and nobody gives a crap about my age. And I think doing this new career change, I feel younger, and I love doing this.
And that's what you should be doing. I think we all, people, if they have the chance to do things that they really love, that's what they should do. And if they can't, then you're going to have to find an even space for you to be able to accept where you are in your life, and then strive to do better. We all should strive to do better, and really be focused on, what we'd like to accomplish, and then try and accomplish that. And I just believe in this world, people can do it. If you really set your mind to something, you really can do it. So that's what I believe in.
Marlene, you got something to add?
Yeah, I love your humor philosophy, and I share it 100%. And so I've wanted to ask you this for a while, but how did you come up with the name FuneMinds for your podcast, and the unique spelling of FuneMinds? Because it's not what people would expect.
Well, I always like to be different, dare to be different. And I just think, being different in life just sets you apart from a lot of different things. And I have a very sick sense of humor.
Awesome.
I do, and I'll admit it, and I have no filter at times. And I'm very proud of the person I am. And when I was sitting thinking about what I would call my podcast, the first thing that came into my mind was FuneMinds. And I'm like, well, I can't spell it the regular way, so this is the way I'd like to spell it. And then, and I pitched it to my son. He said, Mom, that's marvelous. I think that's great. I love it. But that's how I am with everything. I just like to be different. I like to dress different. I like to look different. I like, it's the whole purple, that's my jam. Purple is my jam. And, I every day of the week, and this is the God's honest truth, no matter where I go, no matter what I do, people will come up to me. They could be young people. They could be older people, women, men. Love your hair. Absolutely love your hair. Love the purple. And no matter where I go, it comes in every day, because that's me. It's a part of me. This whole thing is me. And it makes me happy, and I love the way it is, and I love the way it looks, and I think it sets me apart, and that's what I like to do. I like to be set apart from different things. I hope that answers your question.
Mission accomplished.
By the way, I had this question prepared, but one thing this too well as Lynne and Marlene is it's okay to prepare questions, but listening is huge, because sometimes I guess can tell you something before you even have that question written down. So, and I want to say thank you again for Marlene for arranging this, but I wanted to ask you this. How did you and Marlene connect up?
Well, when I first started, when Ed and I first started, we did a lot of musicians, because naturally my son is in the music business. That's not his daytime job, but he has been a musician since he's 5 years old. So a lot of the people that we interviewed were in the music business. And then we started to branch out. And in branching out, I became a member on Apple. And Apple would give me people that I could ask to be on my show. And then they did a big promo for me. And God, I had I think at the time, 300 people that wanted to sign up for my show. So I wanted to go through what Brian had sent me in the beginning. And Marlene was one of the people. And I was drawn to her right away. I was drawn to her. I was drawn to Pink Poodle Productions. I loved it. I just thought it was
That's
amazing.
me.
And 3 times we tried to get her on the show, and 3 times she was so busy she couldn't come on.
I
And then
forgot. Yes, I made
I-
many mistakes, but she didn't reject me. Yes.
Oh, never. So I did the Marlene challenge. And I did the Marlene challenge, and there she was, the fourth time she showed up, and we had a lot of
Time's the
fun.
charm.
By the way, I met Marlene through one of your guests, Grace Fraga. So it's a small world how a podcast can connect you with other people. And it's been
Yes.
3 years. I've known Marlene now for 3 years, and we've done a number of shows together.
Wow. And also, I would love to shout out podcastguests.com, because that was the place that I put my profile, because I want to be guests on other people's podcasts. And so I thought, okay, if I'm proactive about that and put my profile here and a little description about me and my interests, then maybe people will find me and I'll get more opportunities. And sure enough, Lynn and Eddie found me from my shameless self-promotional attempts through.
That's okay, because I'm doing the same thing now. I'm going to start doing the same thing. And you want people to be on your show, but you want to be on their show too.
Yeah.
So you can promote yourself even more, and maybe one of these days I'll get to Snoop Dogg and
just put it out there. And Travis Kelce as well. I think
the Kelce brothers. Oh my God, I would die to be on their show, but I'm not, I'm a sports person, but
I did have a Kansas City Chiefs tight end on my show a few months ago as well. Jason Dunn, who played for the Chiefs and the Eagles back in the 2000s. But I reached out to him, and somebody that I knew Jason Dunn, and it really helps. But I'll tell you this, you guys both know this, booking guests and finding guests is a full-time job itself.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. I put the picture up, on all my social media and what have you, and on LinkedIn. I've been back and forth with Ian Bagg, the comedian, and he's absolutely, you should know him. He's from Canada. I mean, like, he is so funny. He is like he's tops. He's just like, like every great comedian you've ever met. So he said to me, Lynn, I'm on tour. This is a little while ago. And as soon as I finish the tour, I can make time to be on the show. Well, I looked up his tour and he was going to be near me. So I went to see him the other night. And after the show, we talked a little bit, and then we talked more online, and he's just like the type of person that the minute he goes on stage to the minute he's off, you don't stop laughing. I mean, he is just so funny. So I'm so excited to have connected with somebody like him, and for him to be that accommodating to want to be on the show. So as soon as he finishes his tour, he's going to be on my show, and I'm just so excited about it. But and I just sent him an email out of the blue. That's how we started. I sent it out of the blue.
Yeah, you got to do it. And speaking of comedians, I have one from Los Angeles on my show Friday at 5:00 Eastern. I'm just a little shameless plug. Her name is Jenny Skikes.
Skikes, okay.
So she'll be on Friday at 5:00. But I was going to say, Lynn, I can relate to you. I know your show's with your son, and mine's a solo show. But my show's, I love my sports, but I've diversified it now, and I've had comedians, actors, comedians, everybody, and you know this too, Lynn. I love connecting with people and the storytelling aspect of it, and learning from your guests.
Oh, you can learn a lot from your guests. You can get so much out of them. They might get something out of you, but you get so much out of all of them. And it's just absolutely wonderful. I've ended shows where I just feel so complete in talking to somebody about a specific subject, and it just feels so good. And then, a lot of times they'll email me back, like yesterday, 3 different people that I interviewed in the past 6 months. Hey, Lynn, how are you doing? What's going on? Here's what's happening with me. And I love that. I love that. I love that they'll come back to you and they remember you, and they want to keep in touch with you. And I think that's wonderful, and there's some people that I will have a second time on my show because I want to see how far they've gone with what they were doing, and I think it's important. And I think we're bringing, I like the video. I know a lot of people do the audio, which is fine. I'm on both, but I like the video because I like to see everything, and I like other people to see it, and I like that whole interaction. You can't see an interaction on an audio, but on the video, you see the interaction, and I think it's wonderful. I think it's just a wonderful way to go.
Well said. And we have some viewer comments. US Tube Nico says, hi, Shawnee. The next one is, hi, Mama Metal, I'm here. And the other one, hi, Mama Metal, I'm here.
We need to dig into Mama Metal. We need to explain that.
Mama Metal. Well, my son is in the music industry, and I love heavy metal, and so his friends always referred to me as Mama Metal. And wherever he went, if I showed up at one of his concerts, he was always on stage to say Mama Metal's in the audience, and he would make me stand up, and so. Another thing that I had did, and I haven't had the time to work on it, but I am going to. I have a YouTube channel that's Mama Metal Senior Adventures. And I thought I would reach out to people that were retired and stuff. And I have a lot of things to say. And I started it. And then I got so involved with finishing the book and doing the podcast. And now I have to get back to it. Because a lot of people have contacted me and said, we miss you. And, you had a lot to say. It was really cute. And it wasn't, it was maybe 15, 20 minutes. It wasn't that long, and I just always had something to say. And I do, do some crazy things. I have this crazy, purple wig, short hair wig spiked up, and I put it on, I go on, and it's just crazy because I am. And, so yeah, that's my Mama Metal. And that's where I got the name from the boys in the band.
That's awesome. Well, clearly you're known as Mama Metal because our viewers are messaging you as Mama Metal. So please go back to it when you have a chance, because your audience needs you. You got to give the people what they want.
Oh, always I will. I am going to do it, and I have a lot of things that, there's a lot of people that I would like to bring on, and we're delving into affiliates because it's time to start raising money and doing ads and getting people to sponsor. So we're working on that. So it's I'm sure Chris, it's a lot of work.
Yes.
For one person, it is a lot of work. And
yes, I wear 6 or 7 hats.
Yes, exactly. There are a lot of hats to wear. But once, things start rolling, as they start rolling, then you see the positive end of all the concepts that you've come up with and that you've worked so hard for. And, I want to get to that. I don't want to get to the end because it's never the end, but I'd like to get over that hump. I want to get my first commercial and be like the happiest person in the world. So anybody out there want to give me a commercial? I'm here. FuneMinds.com. Come and get me. I would love to do L'Oreal because I use their products. So, I'm putting together a media kit that, of course, I will send to them. They'll be my first person. I'm just going to put stuff out there. And, it's like you put enough crap against the wall and you see what sticks,
Well, the fact that you were able to snag Ian Bagg and meet him in real life even before the interview, that is extraordinary. It is just extraordinary. So you can do anything, Lynne. I mean,
I believe I can. I really believe. So Snoop, if you're out there and you're listening, I know you're in Paris, but if you're out there, you can bring Martha with you,
Yes. It's amazing because when I started this journey 4.5 years ago, nobody watched. I couldn't get guests on, and then all of a sudden I got a female ventriloquist from Los Angeles on, Christine Barger. And then now I've had over 400 guests, and you reach out to people, and a lot of times they say yes, but sometimes they say no, but you don't take it personally. One piece of advice I got recently from a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer and catcher, his name is Buck Martinez. He goes, Chris, when I went from a player to a broadcaster, make sure when you do interviews, live interviews or virtual interviews, your guests like to talk, because there's nothing worse when you have an interviewer that is very shy or does not feel comfortable on air. So that was a good piece of advice he gave me.
So true. So
Chris, I am never shy. I have never, I've never been shy in my life. I mean, maybe when I was little, I don't know, but I'm just like, I'm a blabbermouth. I don't stop. I just keep going and going. I'm the Energizer Bunny. I'm just going to keep it up, and I'm going to talk to you, and I can talk to you till I'm blue in the face. And I don't want to do a 3-hour interview because most people don't have 3 hours to spend. I mean, there are some people, but I don't want to keep somebody on for 3 hours. I think 45 minutes is great. You can get a lot done in that amount of time. You can hit a lot of very good points.
Yep.
For that person, and they have a brand, or they have whatever they're on your show for, that let them get it out, and
Yep.
You're golden. You're absolutely golden, and you could always have them back.
We don't know each other that well, but I think my story's similar to yours, and our shows, our philosophies as well, from the sounds of it.
Well, great minds always think alike, Chris. You know that.
Well, that's a new podcast.
Funny minds. Funny minds think alike.
Yes.
And we're all funny minds on this podcast.
Yes. So I don't have I don't have too many people that have any negative thoughts that are on my show, but they have been through some negative things in their life, and I've had people who have tried to commit suicide, or
Yes.
and they've come back to really value their life, and they've gone through a lot, and they've gone through programs, and they've written books, and they go out and they speak, and I think it's absolutely wonderful, and my heart goes out to them because they're drawing so many people in to help so many people. And I think it's absolutely wonderful. So we take a subject that's very difficult for some people to discuss or understand or even want to listen to, and we bring it out, and it blooms. It blossoms. There's that whole thing comes just full out, and it's wonderful. And you just think, well, if one person watches this and it just helps one person, well, that's the most important thing in the world.
Lynne, do you have any specific instances of a memorable guest or an awkward guest experience or anything like that sticks out in your mind?
Well, I think all of my guests are memorable. I will say there was this wonderful man, and we used his studio when Eddie and I first started out, and he just was such a wonderful, generous person. And I don't remember the exact way his title went, but he was brilliant man. And what he did was go out and investigate accidents, but the type of accidents that are fatal accidents, and
Wow.
and so, and he spent a lot of time in court, but his brain, the physics of everything put together, and he explained it on, I don't remember exactly what episode he was. It was in the beginning, Mike Bosworth. And his daughter is in college now, and she is also brilliant, and she's already got a job with Elon Musk. That's how brilliant this girl is. But anyhow, he died, and he had a fatal heart attack in his car on the way to court to testify. So it was like the thing that made him so special. He ended up being on the other end of this, where they were a special forensic accident
investigator,
they had to investigate his death because
wow,
this is what he did in his life, and then he was being investigated. His death was being investigated, and it was just like, it was like so surreal. When my son called and said, "Mom, Mike died," and I was like, "Oh my God, he died!" And when he told me what happened, and I looked at everything, and I was just like, "Oh my God!" Like, he lived his life trying to figure all these things out, and he was so brilliant in doing it, and so many people wanted him. And he worked for NASA at one point, and in with the astronauts and stuff like it, because he was so brilliant. And then he ended up being on the other end of the spectrum of what he did, and I think that was like really like strange,
yeah, it was almost like he had foresight.
Yes.
Yeah, and wow. Now I would be curious to know if there were any suspicious circumstances, because if he was on his way to court to testify.
No, they said he had a fatal heart attack. That's how he, and he was in a van, and the van just never stopped, and he smashed, and he was going so fast because he died, and his foot was heavy on it. And he was going so fast, and he smashed, and the van flipped, and it was a mess. It was a mess.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was a mess. But his daughter now, she's doing very, very well, and we keep in contact here and there. And she's a brilliant young girl, and she's going to go very far in her life. But he was such a generous man too. He was very, very generous, very kind, very, very outgoing, and he was into music also. And he let us have the studio. He said, yes, just come and use the studio. He wanted nothing for it. He was very happy that we were there. He was very excited with the people that we had on the show, and he liked seeing it every month, so he was a very special person. I really liked Mike a lot. So he was somebody that really stood out in my mind.
Has his daughter been on your show also?
His daughter was on my show, but I did it as an audio. I didn't do it, because she was at the time under 18. And we did the interview before he had died, but her interview didn't come up until after he died. So I left it as an audio instead of the video portion of it, out of respect for her and her father,
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, she talked about her, she talked about what she was going to do with her life, and, how she met Elon Musk, and, where she expected to end up and what she would like to do in life. And I mean, she's just really an amazing young woman. She really, really is. So, I have to give her a lot of credit for moving forward and doing what she needs to do after losing her dad,
Yeah. Incredible.
Yes,
what a story.
Yes. Yeah, he was an amazing person. So yeah, he really stood out very, very much in my mind. I think about him every once in a while, because we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun together when I was there. Yeah. We enjoyed him.
Did you meet him when you were in the aerospace industry? Is that how you?
No, I met him through Eddie. Eddie knew him because he also had a music studio there.
Mm.
A lot of musicians used to come and lay down tracks there, and he was doing an album, and he had asked Eddie to do some tracks for him. And when we were thinking about getting things together to do Funny Minds, he called Mike and he said, Mike, can we use your studio? Because he had it set up because he wanted to start doing it. He wanted people to start coming and using his studio to do podcasts. And he said, oh, Ed, bring your mom. Yeah, use it anytime you want. I don't want anything for it. Just, bring your mom with you and blah, blah, blah. And that's how we started. Eddie knew him. So, yeah, I don't know what they ever did with the record. I don't know if his family published it. I don't think his family published it. I'm not really sure. I don't want to ask his daughter any questions, and I really know his wife. So,
understandable.
I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, he was an amazing man.
With my show too, I always let my guests decide if they want to come on video or audio. Some of them don't feel comfortable coming on video. I just do an audio one as well. And by the way, I did interview a gentleman from America's Got Talent a few years ago. He passed away, unfortunately, a couple years ago. His name was Marty Ross. He was an 80-year-old plus comedian. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, and he was quite the personality. And he decided later in life, at the age of 68, when he sort of retired, he wanted to go into comedy. And his last 15, 16 years on this planet, he was doing something that he enjoyed. And he actually made America's Got Talent at one point too. And I remember him coming on my show a couple years ago.
Wow, what an inspiring story.
I just did, well, you're not going to see it yet. It'll be on in about a month. A gentleman who was on The Voice, the 5th season of The Voice, our Anthony. Very talented young man. Very, very talented. He was really good. And, he gave us a little, I love Blake. I love Blake Sheldon. I think he's the most craziest person. So I wanted to know what his thoughts were on Blake. Like, is he that always that nice, or are there things behind the scene? He's saying, no, what you see is what you get. This guy is the kindest, nicest, funniest person, and yes, his cup is full of alcohol. Okay, but I heard that he might come back to The Voice. I wish he would, but I know Snoop's going to be on for this coming season, so that'll be so exciting for me to be watching him.
Yeah.
But he gave us, and he said they treated them so well, like anything they wanted, and they had coaches for them, and beautiful rooms and food and whatever they wanted. He said it was an incredible experience, and he was on CeeLo's team, so he was very happy. So it was interesting. Like those are the type of people, that I get on my show, that want to be on my show, and I think they're all very, very interesting, and they always have something very interesting to say. That that their output is there's always something there that you can really gain a lot of knowledge from, or enjoy, or say, geez, this person's lived, a really great life, or gee, that person really had a hard time, but look what they've done, which gives a lot of people a lot of incentive to be better or do better, or say, gee, look, I've been in that situation. Look, if that person can do it, I can do it too, so it's just, it's all about people. It's all about people.
And you have to go out and put yourself out there. You can't, nobody's going to come to you. You have to put yourself out there and tell them what you're doing. And with this, or with our technology, Lynn, people can check out your work and say, yeah, I like this guy's work. I've had guys on from professional sports teams I never thought would come on, and they liked my work. And this, Lynn and Marlene, you want to make your guests feel comfortable and build a rapport with them. And the more they get to know you and feel comfortable, they'll be willing to share their story or tell you even more than what you're going to ask.
That's true. That's true. I haven't had a lot of sports people, and I would really like to get some. And I think I have to reach out more to, people in the industry. I haven't had a chance to do well. I shouldn't say that, because I've sent things to Patrick Mahomes so many times, and I'm sure it's not him. It's the people that, are there to answer for him. And, it's just like, you get this one or two word, like, we'll see, or, we'll get back to you. And it's like, okay.
But one thing I've learned too, you're going to get no's or turned down, or I've had some guests decide not to show up on me. You always have to have a plan B, C, and D, and you don't take anything personal. That's just my advice that I've learned over the years.
You're right. You can't. I mean, if somebody says no to me, that's okay. I understand. Yep. I just might not be the right person, or my podcast might not be the right podcast that they want to be on. They might not see where there's any worth for them to be on it. And that's okay. It doesn't bother me. There's only two things that I don't deal with, and that's politics and religion. I don't have a platform for it.
Exactly.
And I don't deal with it, so I move on from there. And if I felt that somebody is going to go in that direction, I try and change the scenario. But I really haven't had to do that. So I've been very lucky, I guess, in that way, that people are just willing to come on and really be themselves and talk about themselves, and, what they're all about and what they're looking for, what they're doing. And it doesn't end up to be any type of a negative bounce back in any way. So I guess in a way I'm lucky that way.
Exactly. And I have a policy too on my social media pages: no political talk. I don't want any of that stuff on there. And with our shows, I just want to focus on the guest story and learn from them. I don't want to get into the politics and all that, because that can make it very uncomfortable.
It is a very uncomfortable situation. You see that in life in general, so it's better to just stay away from it. And there's so many positive things to think about and talk about, and, going on in the world, that, you really can look at the positive side of things rather than negative, or, to bring you to a point that you want to be at. And that's how I feel. I want to be in a positive frame of mind. I don't want to be in a negative frame of mind. So, so I don't want to laugh. Let's laugh. I like to laugh.
Same here. Lynn, are you able to tell us a little bit about your career as a CFO of a manufacturing company in the aerospace industry? Just a little
Yeah,
bit
that
about
was
that.
really like it was really like very interesting. My predecessor, he was a great guy, and he stayed around for about 5 months because they had a very strange IBM system. And of course, I wanted to switch everything over to Bing, mindless QuickBooks, which they could do. And then he finally relented. So, at one point I was like working the IBM system and getting everything onto QuickBooks. And it was very interesting because a lot of times there were parts that they kind of really weren't privy to what they did and what they were for. They just knew what company we were doing it for. But that was only once in a while. But for the most part, in the aerospace industry, you're working for subcontractors of the government. And a lot of their quality people, like, we did a lot of parts for all of the fighter jets. So, a lot of times there were meetings with people from the service, the armed services, to go over different things. And Boeing, we did a lot of pieces for Boeing, and the Dreamliner and Sikorsky helicopters, and wave guides. We did a lot of that. The stealth bomber, we had pieces on the stealth bomber. I mean, like I said, there were times where we knew where our pieces were going and what type of aircraft it was going on, and other times we were really like, this way, that way, as to what it would be. But, it was a marvelous type of position. The people were wonderful. It was not, I don't want to say it was a hard job. It was hard, but it wasn't like grueling. Okay. And it was a union setting. So, people worked from 7 to 3. They were out by 3:30. So I was at my desk at 6:30. So I missed all of the traffic going in, and coming home. I left early, so I missed all the traffic coming home. So it was like the best of both worlds. Plus I had remote entry. So if God forbid anything, I could work from home at any time. And I did during COVID. I worked from home. I never went into the office. And we did lose a lot of people during that. But, there were those diehard people that did stay to try and keep the company open. And the man who founded the company was a marvelous, marvelous man. God rest his soul. He was just, Edgar was an absolute dream of a person to work for. And he was a brilliant, brilliant man. And he came from Germany, and his family during the war, his father was put in a concentration camp, but it was during the early stages where they were able to pay money to get their father free. So, and they did, and they all spread out, and Edgar was sent to the United States to live with a family in the United States. And later on, he was in the army, and they used him because he spoke fluent German. They used him as a sort of a spy, and he would come up with he would tell the most incredible stories to us that were unbelievable. And at one point he was invited back to Germany. He was honored by the town that his family came from. He went and visited his home. Of course, the Gestapo took his father's factory because they had a manufacturing plant over there. And he was an incredible metallurgist. And there wasn't anything that he couldn't figure out how to make when it came to, we dealt with aluminum castings. There wasn't anything that this man couldn't figure out how to do for the planes, for the parts for the planes. He was just brilliant in that way. And so he was a wonderful person to work for. So it made it easy to be the boss of a company like that, because he made it easy for me, And when he was gone, it was kind of sad, but his partner took over, and I was there until I was still there after I retired. They asked me to come back, and I did come back and worked for another 2 years. And then,
oh my, an encore, a career encore.
Yes, and then he took the company out of New Jersey and brought it up to Connecticut, and that's when I was on a full retirement. So but it was a wonderful job. I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
Oh, what a
I
blessing.
wouldn't, I wouldn't trade that job for all the money in the world. It was a wonderful, wonderful job. The people were wonderful. Um, the people that we worked with could, cause you a lot of, ulcers, but you got through it. You came to the table, you came to an agreement, to a compromise. Sometimes I was very, I stuck to my guns. I was very hard nosed with a lot of different things that I knew was right for our company, because I had to protect our company, not everybody else's. And, most of the time I'd have to say, knock on wood, I got my way. So, it was just, learning how to work the system, work the people, and get what you need to get for the company, And I think that's what I do in life for myself too. I can talk to people and talk them into things, talk them out of things. I'm like a leader. And I was in my town. I was involved in so many things and in charge of so many things. And, it's just me. It's just the person that I've been all my life. So,
Marlene, are you okay for a couple more minutes?
I am not, unfortunately. I
Okay.
have a little creature who
oh,
is needing to take a break, as we say.
yes,
She
yes.
needs a break, and so she will soon be vocal if I do not take that break. So I must excuse myself from this fabulous episode. It's been incredible.
Well, it's been wonderful for me. I really appreciate the fact that, you brought me on, the both of you brought me on, and I've really had a great time. And you can't tell much that I don't like talking about everything that goes on, because I do.
But your stories are gripping.
Yes.
I mean, we went from the music industry to comedy to forensic investigation to the Holocaust.
I know. I mean, I'm not really a person that's at a loss for words. That's for damn sure. I can hold up my end with the best of them. So,
Are you okay finishing up the show with me for about 10 more minutes?
oh, sure,
10
no
more
problem.
minutes?
Yeah, please.
Marlene,
That's
you
okay?
can go walk the dog.
Please continue, and I will be cheering you on from the sidelines.
Thank you, Marlene.
Marlene, thank you so much. Marlene,
You're
we'll talk to you soon. We'll talk to you soon, Marlene.
Yes.
Spoil the dog, Blanche, for me.
I
Okay.
will. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. All right. Well, yeah, Marlene is great. And like I said, I've known her for 3 years, and I met her through Grace's podcast show. And it's just funny how things get connected off a podcast talk show.
Yes. Oh, Grace is great too. I had her on, and I'm going to have her on again because for some reason, Eddie, my son, had a problem with his audio, and we started a little late, so she didn't get the full 45 minutes. So we got to have her on again because she was crazy. I love her. She's great.
Yeah, I've had her on my show, and like I said, she's had to go through cancer. And I did listen to your show with her recently too, so she has
Thank you.
a lot of good stories. And you guys really work well together, yourself and Edward at first. And at first, when I saw Edward, I'm like, okay, it's a husband and wife podcast. And then I read your bio, and it was your son, so I'm like, that's unique. That is really unique, and I think that's cool that you and your son can do a podcast show together.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, like, I beat him up ahead of time, and then he falls in line and everything's okay. I'm kidding. I'm sorry, Eddie, if you're listening. I'm sorry. No, Eddie can hold his own. He's that type of person that people have followed him all over, and he just makes friends very easily, and people just fall in love with him. And he's got that comedic edge to him that really helps to bring things over the edge sometime. And he's very in tune in the music industry and the sports industry, so he can hold his own in that area where I only know so much maybe about dealing with music. I don't know everybody's name or blonde moments. And certainly sports. I mean, I'm a football fanatic and hockey, but other than that, I don't talk sports, and men do. Yeah. So, it's easy to have somebody, who's very accomplished in certain areas, and then I'm accomplished in other areas. So, it's a good duo.
Yeah,
and we both have thick minds. So there you go.
Yeah, and I've learned to ad-lib too. Like when I first started this, I had everything scripted and that. had a couple guys from the NBA come on and tell me, "Hey, Chris, it's okay to write points and notes, but talk to your guests, having a natural conversation like you're
Yes.
at a coffee shop." So I've taken some advice from a guest over the year and have applied it, and I feel so comfortable talking to people. And mistakes do happen. And one of the guys from TSN, which is like ESPN here, he says, "Yeah, you're gonna make mistakes, but the only way you get better is to learn from them. When you try not to make mistakes or try to be perfect, that's when they happen." So he said, "Just be yourself." Be
Oh yeah.
yourself. Don't try to be somebody you're not.
You know what, Chris? Nobody's going to be perfect. It just doesn't exist in life. You can't be perfect. And, you know, I'm sure Ed and I have made plenty of mistakes ourselves. And, you know, I can pinpoint a few of them, but I'm not going to get into them. But, you know, just things that I let go, like, you know, you're looking at, you know, the producer takes the stuff and they give it back to me to approve it. And a couple of times, you know, because we are a very outrageous type of show that anything goes, you know, I've missed a couple of things that people have said that maybe I could have like redirected, but then after the fact was like, you know what, I'm glad I didn't, because people really loved the episode and it was real and the person was real. So
Yep.
there you go. There you go. You know, what are you really like reeling back? You know, I mean, you can't really take a person and change their personality. So why try? You know, I'm not going to try.
Absolutely. Lynn, I wanted to get this question in too. What kind of an adjustment was it being a woman in a man's world, and what were some of the early challenges that you faced as a CFO?
Well, men don't take women seriously, and they don't take their suggestions seriously. And I dealt with that not only with the people that came in that we had to have meetings with, but also with our union reps. And, you know, I just had to stand up to them and show them that I wasn't afraid of them and they couldn't push me around. And but do it in a very professional manner, you know, because I don't believe in arguing with people because there's no sense to it. And especially in a business world, I'm just not going to be that person. And so, you know, I was always very steadfast in my beliefs. If you could show me a better way, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to listen to you and we're going to work on it. And maybe you'll take some things from me. I'm going to take some things from you and we're going to walk away and everybody's going to be happy. But that doesn't always happen. And sometimes you really have to just stand your ground. And that's what I did. I stood my ground and they knew it. And they, you know, after they got used to me, because like I said, my predecessor was there 25 years. So it was some hard shoes to fill. And I guess they came in and thought they were just going to push me over. And I just had to stand there and let them know I wasn't going to. Plus, I had the backing of a very wonderful man who owned the company, who was there to stand behind me and say what she's saying is okay, or what she's doing is okay. And I agree with it and I back her. So I was very lucky that way. I was very, very lucky, but not always in my life. You know, when I did independent accounting, I dealt with a lot of different businesses and a lot of different situations. And there were times where they used me to be the bad guy and go in and evaluate things and fire people. But that was my job and that's what I had to do. So there were a lot of people that weren't very happy with me, and I understand why, but I was doing my job. I was doing what I was paid to do, and I had to do it. And, you know, when you evaluate a company, you've got to be very honest with your evaluation because you're not helping anybody if you're not going to be honest. So it was kind of tough. Sometimes it was very, very tough. Sometimes I would go home and I would not feel bad, but I would just say, you know, this was a hard day and I have to get over it and I got to look for tomorrow and tomorrow's a better day. And, you know, or maybe I would say, well, I could have handled this, I think, a little bit differently. So if I get in that situation again, maybe it's better if I react this way instead of the way that I did react, and maybe I'll get further. So, you know, honestly, it was not easy, but after a certain amount of time when you know, these companies got used to me and got used to how I worked and how I thought, it made it a lot easier. They knew what they could do and what they could get away with and what they couldn't get away with. I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. Do you find that in 2024 women have come a long ways, or do you think
God, yes.
Do you still think
yes.
there's a ways to go yet?
There are a lot of ways to go in certain industries. And I see it a lot in the voiceover industry. And I know there's a wonderful one, Christy Hurst, who's really like pushing for women in voiceover, in the male dominated areas like alcohol, tobacco, sports and stuff. And there are a lot of women that are being given opportunities. So I really give her a lot of kudos for what she's standing up for and what she's doing, because women can do voiceovers just as well as men can.
Absolutely.
And I think women can do most everything. They're not Hercules, but and some women are. I mean, women have come a long way, and we deserve to come a long way.
Absolutely. And this leads to my next question, Lynn. We'll try to wrap it up in a few more minutes, but
Okay.
I wanted to ask you this one as well. How much influence did your career in the aerospace industry help with writing your book In the Blink of My Eye, which you self-published? Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Um, I don't know if my job, I could say it was my job that really influenced me. It's more my personality,
Okay.
than my job. My job really didn't, it really didn't make much difference, as to who I was. It was my personality and the person I am, and how I feel in life and what's important to me. Um, and my determination and my fortitude. That's what went into my book. Not, I can't really say my job influenced my writing in any way.
Can you just tell us a little bit about the process of writing the book In the Blink of My Eye, and how did you come up with the name, and what was it like getting it self-published? Self-published.
Well, oh, my book was in my mind for a long time, and the concept was in my mind. And my book is it's fiction. However, it's based on my life, but there's truth, there's some truth, and there's no truth at all. And if anybody asks me, I'm not going to tell them what it is, because that takes away from the mystery of the book. So, it basically, there's no character that really is named the person that they really are. There's things that I have in this book that really happened, that didn't happen, that could have happened, that I thought would be nice to happen. Like, this was all things based in my mind. And I do think that I really do have a very creative mind. And if I understood animation and stuff more than what I actually do, I would create so many things, because my mind is always going, it's always creating things. But the book, the name of the book, really, In the Blink of My Eye, is the fact that from the beginning to the point that I wrote the book, my life, it just seems like my children are my most precious assets. Okay. They just grew up, and it was just all of a sudden there, like, time went by so fast, and I started here, and here I am now, and they're adults with their own children, and everything went, blink your eye and here you are, so that's In the Blink of My Eye. That's where I got the name from. And I knew that's what the name of my book was going to be 10 years ago, and I knew what the cover was going to be. And this is my book. I'm going to show you my book. And that is my eye. They took a picture and enhanced my own eye to put it on the cover. So, that's the way, like, the whole concept of my book was in my mind. And the people that I worked with, the editor and, all the people that she had, they took my concepts of what I had, and they did an incredible job with it. And it was exactly what I wanted. It was exactly what I wanted.
Where can our audience purchase your book online, and how satisfying was it seeing your book published and people out there are reading it?
Oh, it was very exciting. Only I self-published, and I went from self-publishing the book and jumped right into the podcast. So I never really took the time to push my book, which I'm going to do now. And I want to do a children's series, and I already have that all made up in my mind. And it's going to be a 5-book series, and I know what it's going to say, and I know what it's going to be about. But I haven't had the time to start on that yet, and I will. But it just like, they can find it on Amazon. Most bookstores have it. Amazon and Kindle are my 2 biggest, but Barnes and Noble has it, and so many other people. You just, all you have to do is put in the blink of my eye by Lynne Biss, and it's going to come up with so many people that sell my book.
And
And
I'm
they
assuming it
find,
would be available on Amazon.ca here in Canada as well.
yes, absolutely. Yes.
I will
And
have to check it out. And I've had other authors come on, and I think that's great that you wrote a book. That's great.
I know, I love it. I just, it's something I really aspired to do, and I did it. And I can say I did it. I wanted to be a podcast, and I did a podcast host, and I've done it. Now I want to, now I want to monetize my podcast. So now I'm going to
Yep.
do it. You know.
I just 2 years ago got a local GM dealership to sponsor me, so now I'm trying to get more sponsors on top of it. And a lot of people don't realize broadcasting radio, the future of it is live streaming, and it's still cheaper to sponsor a podcaster or somebody doing radio at home than it is in a studio. So
Oh yeah.
I yeah, I wish you luck on that. And like I
Thank
said,
you.
people don't realize when you do a podcast, you have to put a lot of work in it. It's not just the on air work; it's the behind the scenes. And people just think, "Oh, you're at home. This is easy." And that's like, no, it's not. It's a lot of work, but
It's a
it's some
lot.
passion. And I can tell how passionate you are with your podcast. And I'm now subscribed to your podcast, by the way.
Thank you. And I subscribe to yours also. That's what
Absolutely.
we have to help each other out. That's what we're here
Abs-
for.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons I love it. I make a lot of connections, but even
Yeah.
friendships I've made out of here as well. And speaking of your podcast, I want you to plug it here now. Where can my audience find your funny minds on
It's
all platforms or the
it's
major ones?
funnyminds.com, and it's spelled FUNEMINDS, funnyminds.com. And the video is on Spotify and YouTube, and then the audio is on all major platforms. So you can, basically, if you want to see us, I would say go on YouTube. If you want to hear us, go on Spotify and plug into either their video or their audio, and you're going to find me there. Go to Google, put in funnyminds.com. We have if you go into my site, we have a store, and there's some new we have some new different designs for Funny Minds and shirts, and we're going to do some affiliates. So that's going to be coming out. And we also have two organizations that are very important to us, and that's St. Jude's Children's Hospital and breast cancer. So we like donations for that. So if you go on my podcast, you can make a donation to the either one of those organizations. And there's some information on there. You can get in touch with me at Lynne, LYNNE, at funnyminds.com, or Edward at funnyminds.com. And we answer anybody, and we'll take your suggestions. And we're going to start doing some promos and giving people a chance to win spots to come on our show. And we have a lot of things that we have planned to go on. And like with our affiliates too, there's a lot of things with our affiliates that we're going to start doing and putting out there.
By the way, I have my own mug, and I have new T-shirts coming out as well. I guess you can't see that. I'm gonna eventually get my own studio. I'm using a virtual background, so
Oh, okay.
that's
Okay.
the next. But I do have mugs out, and I'm gonna have more T-shirts come out as well. And it's a good
Yeah.
way to promote your show and get your word out. I even have my own jersey as well. But I think that is great. And do you know when is your next episode coming out? And can you mention your next guest, or is that a secret?
No, my next guest will be on next Tuesday. We have our episodes come out every Tuesday, and my next guest is a musician, and he was with a lot of very famous bands. So I don't think I'm really going to tell you his name, because I want everybody to look at my clips and read everything that I put out there on him. I send clips out twice a week on who's going to come on the show. And but he's a crazy, crazy person. And but he's done some marvelous things. And he's also an author. And you're going to love him. People are going to love him. I love him. He's a wonderful person. And like I said, he's been with some very important metal bands. He's really into metal. So the people who are really into that type of music are going to know him immediately. Okay. So, but every Tuesday, at Thursdays, I send out clips for the coming week. Thursday, either Saturday or Sunday, and then on Tuesday is our main episode every week.
Okay. And I do this with all my guests. As we wrap up, what is a fun fact about Lynne Biss that people might not know about you, and the best way again for people to follow you on social media and to plug your website again?
A fun fact: I have the craziest laugh. I laugh about everything. So I mean, like, I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but sometimes, like, somebody falls down, I think it's funny. I don't think it's funny, but I laugh because it seems like it's funny. But I just laugh at a lot. I laughed a lot at life. I just laugh. It's just like I laugh a lot. It's just
Laughing, laughing is good, and like
It
you
is.
said, it really does help.
I say to everybody, laughter is the best medicine. That's how I end my show, because that's it. If you can't laugh, you've got a lot of trouble. You've got a lot of problems,
Laughter and music.
And music. Yes, music
Yes.
is wonderful. I love music. Music is it. Music is wonderful. And I don't care what it is, but maybe not opera, but I've listened to it. But and where can you find me? Lynne at FuneMinds.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on X. YouTube, I send some, TikTok, I send some things out, my clips and all, but I'm not a big TikToker. That I'm not.
I joined TikTok 4 years ago, and it's really helped me because I've learned how to cut promos for my guests, my
Okay.
show. And honestly, I was 47 at the time, and I thought it was ridiculous. And TikTok has been a really good tool. I had the stereotype of TikTok, and if you use it the right way, it's like with anything in social media. If you use it the right way, it's a great tool.
I only use it to put my clips out on. I don't use it for anything else. I guess I probably could, but then, I'm doing so many other things with other
It's
social
time
media.
consuming.
That,
It's time consuming.
Yeah, I
Yes.
know. I know. It's time to tune in. I'm not going to tune out. I'm going to tune in. But
And
I'll take your advice and I'll use it.
And by the way, I put down on the graphics here your Linktree site as well.
Okay. I don't have a Linktree site. It's LinkTube.
Linktree. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
LinkTube. Yeah. Because Linktree, I didn't even get it out there, and somebody was helping me with it, and I have some things that are 420 because we're 420 friendly, and I didn't even publish the thing yet, and they knocked me off, and I tried to compromise with them, and they said no because you didn't put, are you 21? You didn't have it. And I said, but I didn't even get to that yet. We didn't even get to that part yet because we were just starting it, and they didn't want. So now I'm doing a LinkTube.
Okay.
And LinkTube, we're putting everything on there where they have to say that they're 21 so that they can open up just a couple of sites. That's all it is, and it's shirts, and it's CBD for pets and for people. And, I think it's a wonderful thing that people have the ability to buy this. And I don't use it myself, but I know a lot of people that do, and a lot of people that have been helped by it, and a lot of people that just get crazy with it. So, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. That's life, I'm not going to stop you.
That's absolutely. But hey, I want to say thank you to Marlene for having you come on, and thank you for giving us over 70 minutes of your time. And when you're having a great conversation with a guest, time just flies by. Everything you write goes quick.
Yes, and I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for having me on the show. And hopefully, well, you're live streaming, so I don't think they're going to ban you. Cut us off, but I don't think I said anything bad, did I?
No. And my radio station in Georgia, I've had one guest say the S word, but it wasn't that bad. So it's, I've been pretty lucky.
Because that's like my second nature word. I'm surprised I didn't say that all night. Oh, well, Chris, I must be off my mark tonight. I don't know.
So, but I do look forward to coming on your show in August.
Yes.
And like I said, you have an open invite to come back on here again with me and Marlene in the future as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Well, continued success with your show, and we'll definitely keep in touch with you on social media. Lynne, thank you so much for coming on here tonight.
Yes, and thank you. And thank you to everybody out there who took the time to watch us. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, you have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed season 2, episode 7 tonight with our special guest, Lynne Biss. the host and founder of Funny Minds podcast, and she's also the author of the book In the Blink of Her Eye. And I want to say thank you to Marlene for arranging this. And the show will be available on all audio platforms and on all major video platforms as well. And I want to say thank you to WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports, for airing this show. And thank you to everyone from Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, X, I still call it, and Instagram for watching this. And I forgot, on Instagram, you only get 1 hour of live streaming before they cut you off as well. Before we wrap this show up, guys, the next Argo Bounce live audio show about the Toronto Argonauts with co-host Chris Pomay, myself, and Nick Small is going to be tomorrow night, Wednesday, July 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern. And the next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk show on Thursday, August 1st at 4:30 p.m. Eastern with special guest Howard Simon, longtime radio personality with WGR 550 in Buffalo and the 2024 Buffalo Broadcasting Hall of Famer as well. And then Friday, August 2nd at 5 o'clock, I have a comedian from Los Angeles coming on. Her name is Jenny Skikes, and she's going to come on and talk about her career in the comedy industry. So I have a busy week ahead of us, and I really want to say thank you to everyone for watching and listening to the Small Talk podcast show, the Argo Bounce live audio show, and of course, live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk show as well. I hope everybody has a great evening, and we'll see some of you back on live stream tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, for episode 7 of the Argo Bounce live audio show with Nick Small and myself. Again, thank you to Lynne Biss for coming on and for watching and listening to the Small Talk podcast with Marlene Sharp and Chris Pomay. Good night, everybody.